Gladys Goes It Alone, Chapter 8. Are we there yet? Hello, this is Natasha, and I'm here with the 8th chapter in our musical series about a smart girl who wants to make it big in the world of pop music. In this story, Gladys encounters some frustrations, but comes up with the inspiration for a new song. It was 9:30 on a Wednesday morning. Dud was already an hour late to pick her up. He had sent her a message. Running late, bad traffic, be with you soon. That had been half an hour ago. Gladys was annoyed. She could have been on the train by now. She had rung his phone several times, but presumably he couldn't answer because he was driving. He turned up at 10:45 and asked to use the bathroom. At last they set off in his snazzy little sports car. They weren't far down the road before he stopped outside a coffee chain and asked Gladys, "What do you drink? I see you as a skinny latte person." "There isn't time," she insisted. He glanced momentarily at the clock in the car. It didn't seem to point to any time that related to the present. "Haven't had breakfast, left at the crack of dawn to get you." As he got out, Gladys thought, if only murder wasn't quite so illegal and against the 10 Commandments. She reminded herself as he returned 10 minutes later with a cardboard cup in his hand. He had a special drinks holder attached to the dashboard. She really didn't like the way he took a sip as he was driving. It didn't seem safe. Somehow he managed to miss the turning for the M25. Gladys turned on the sat-nav on her phone, and the soothing voice commanded them to make a U-turn. That was a fat lot of use. How were they supposed to do that in the middle of the motorway? Then they had to stop for petrol and for the toilet. And there was a mammoth traffic jam on all 3 lanes. Gladys had given up any hope of arriving on time. "Not my fault," said Dud, when Gladys was fuming like a steam iron. "Must have been an accident further down the way." "But I could have gone on the train," said Gladys in a raised voice. She drew a deep breath and said despondently, "I would be there by now." "Can't trust trains," said Dud. "You know trains, they're always late." They arrived at the TV studio 3 hours after they were supposed to be there. Dud gave his card to the programme's producer and sort of apologised, saying it wasn't their fault because of all the traffic. But the fact was, Gladys was out of the contest. "Sorry," said the producer, who was a smart-looking woman of about 40. "It's not enough to be talented. You've got to be professional too." Gladys burst out. "But it was my manager's fault. I wanted to come on the train. I'm never late for anything on my own." As soon as she said that, she realised that blaming Dud made her sound like a kid in the playground. "Well, I'd get a new manager if I were you," said the producer, who could see that Gladys was seething with rage as well as disappointment. "I can't. I've signed the contract for a year," muttered Gladys glumly. "And I thought I was so smart at business," she said to herself ruefully. Dud looked uneasy. "That was out of turn," he said as they were going down the corridor. They were being escorted toward the exit by a production assistant. Gladys was looking at Dud's back, but even the sight of him from that angle made her feel sick with anger. There was no way she was going to drive back with him to London. They were passing a glass door that led out into a sort of garden, part of the so-called media village. She hung back until Dud and the production assistant were a few steps ahead, and then she slipped through the door. She went out into the garden and found a bench under a tree. She slipped off her shoes and sat cross-legged on it. Then she closed her eyes and thought of the sea lapping against the beach and the cries of seagulls. Gradually she began to calm down. When Gladys opened her eyes, she was no longer alone in the garden. A man was standing by one of those red no smoking signs. "Hope you don't mind. Filthy habit," he said. "Yes, it is a filthy habit," said Gladys. She hated those horrid smelling things that give you cancer. He looked a little surprised, and Gladys realised that his face was familiar. He was famous, but she couldn't quite figure out why. "I apologise," he said, and he dropped the foul fag onto the paving stone and extinguished it with his shoe. "That was my last one. I'm giving up," he promised. She didn't believe his pledge. He's just schmoozing me, she thought. In real life, he didn't come across as a man with an iron will. In contrast to his image on screen, you see, she had just clicked who he was. He had been in one of those vampire movies, in the lead role, a sort of deadly attraction. She could have sworn he was taller in the movie, and a lot better eye candy. Quite frankly, even Dud was better to look at. He glanced at her almost sideways, with a spark of mischief in his eyes. It was rather nice, actually. And he said, in a voice that she had to admit was as silky as his film voice, "What do you do here, if I may ask?" Of course he knows he may ask, thought Gladys, but I don't have to tell him. She held up the plastic-covered pass she had been given at reception. "Just visiting," she said. "Snap," he replied, showing her his visitor's pass. "I'm here for one of those cosy daytime TV programmes," he said. "Only I never feel cosy doing the showbiz schmaltz thing. That's why I'm feeling a bit nervous. And I just bent the rules a bit." He nodded toward the sign forbidding smoke. "Tell me, why are you here? It'll take my mind off things." "Well," said Gladys, "I was just trying to forget about it. But as you ask..." She told him the story of the terrible trip, and feeling super embarrassed because it made her look unprofessional. "I'm sure you sing brilliantly," he replied brightly. "I'd like to come to your next gig. How can I find you?" "On Facebook. My page is Gladys Jones Singer. Glad to meet you, Gladys. I'll look you up," he said. Of course, she knew he probably wouldn't. When Gladys left the media village, she hailed a taxi and asked for the railway station. An hour later, she was sitting on a train for London. It felt great to be heading back under her own steam, so to speak. She took out her phone and, just out of curiosity, checked her Facebook page. She had a new like. It was from Darren Wolfe, actor. In fact, to be honest, a huge Hollywood star. Not always ghost girl after all, thought Gladys. One of the nice things about the train is that you can read on it. She opened her bag. She had reached the part of Anna Karenina, where Anna watches Vronsky ride in a horse race. She had pulled out her e-reader, but then thought, "No, I'll write a song, and then the day won't be wasted." She took her notebook and pen and put them on the table. She looked out of the window. Fields were flying past. "My life is a journey," she wrote on the page, and then put a big circle around the thought. She mulled over the nightmare journey in the car. She began to see that it could be quite funny if it didn't make her feel so angry. "I've got to get something positive out of this," she thought. I'll use it as a metaphor for a song. By the time she reached London, she had written the words to Are We There Yet?
Lady Sat-Nav says we are so lost. We missed the turn at Banbury Cross. Lady Sat-Nav says turn around the car. Look at the map, it's so far. Turn around, turn around. Lady Sat-Nav says love is profound. Turn around. Lady Sat-Nav says we're not a ruby found. Are we there yet? Is this happiness? Are we there yet? Is this love and bliss? Are we there yet? It seems so hit and miss. We're only ever where we are.
At the roundabout, turn right for 500 yards.
Lady Sat-Nav says leave the humble side. I wanna see the Ganges tide. Lady Sat-Nav says go to France in a trance, the Nile in a while, and Spain on the main. Turn around. Lady Sat-Nav says love is profound. Turn around. Lady Sat-Nav says we're not a ruby found. Are we there yet? Is this happiness? Are we there yet? Is this love and bliss? Are we there yet? It seems so hit and miss. We're only ever where we are.
Continue on the M40 for 1.9 miles until you are lost.
Argentina, I wanna see ya. California, I really moon ya. Mexico, I wanna go. Lithuania, you're the mania. Australia, I wanna sail ya. Himalayas, I'm gonna say yeah. Are we there yet? Is this happiness? Are we there yet? Is this love and bliss? Are we there yet? It seems so hit and miss. We're only ever where we are.
If the car in front has broken down, please stop to help.
Lady Sat-Nav says Brazil's a thrill. Fulfill my will or change a drill. Lady Sat-Nav says time's a ticking fast. Feel her wings beat catching us fast. Turn around. Lady Sat-Nav says love is profound. Turn around. Lady Sat-Nav says we're not a ruby found. Are we there yet? Is this happiness? Are we there yet? Is this love and bliss? Are we there yet? It seems so hit and miss. We're only ever where we are.
And that song was Are We There Yet? Which you can find on the new album by Gladys Jones called In Real Life, which is available on iTunes and Google Play. And remember, a fun way to support storynori.com is to buy some of Gladys's stunning range of merchandise from the Gladys Jones store on Zazzle.com. All our t-shirts, bags, iPhone covers and other items are designed in Italy by Chiara Civati. For now, from me, Natasha, bye-bye!